Thank you, Teresa. Hi, my name is Linda, and I'm an alcoholic. And I want to thank Olis for asking me. Um, and I really want to welcome Tom. Like, it's always something special when someone who's 24 hours sober has enough courage to come to a meeting. Like, to me, that's the essence of God. That's the essence of the program. That's why we're all here. And I just want to welcome you, Tom. I know that that first 24 hours is tough. So I have to congratulate you for being here. That took a lot of courage. I'm super grateful for Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm grateful for Step 11. But I'll tell you that when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, Step 11 was not even part of my life. My prayers usually look like, well, if you can get me out of this mess, I promise I won't do it again. Until, of course, the next time, and then I'll do it again. And I had no meditation whatsoever. I could not sit quietly with myself if my life depended on it. It just, like, my head was so noisy, and my shame of my actions were so big that there was no way I could sit quietly with that. And, the first time I did my fourth step, I found some peace. That's what my sponsor told me I had, and I didn't like it. It was super quiet in my head, and it brought me right up close to me, and I didn't like me. And, it took me a number of years to try and work through that stuff. I'm 26 years sober now, and, I never planned to be 30 days sober, let alone 26 years. And the reason why I picked the sentence, I'm just looking in the 12 and 12. I learned my steps in the 12 and 12. I went through those steps 7 times with 7 different sponsors, and they all took me through the 12 and 12. And I just pass on what I was given. I don't have an opinion about that one way or another. But it talks about we receive guidance for our lives to just about the extent that we stop making demands upon God to give it to us on order and on our terms. And one of the things that I would say a lot is I don't have to like God's plan. I just have to walk it. And some of you know my story, some of you don't, but I came into Alcoholics Anonymous pretty banged up. I I thought I lived a normal life, but the truth is that I had a little 10-year-old attempting suicide. I had a 15-year-old being arrested every week. I had a 15-year-old son stealing cars, beating up on people. I had a 17-year-old stepdaughter pregnant with twins. And I had a husband who was barricaded in the bedroom for 2.5 months with a loaded semi-automatic rifle. And I thought I lived a normal life. Like, I thought there wasn't much wrong with my life. And I had to really find, for me, God in the very beginning was just good, orderly direction. Get up and make your bed. Now, I thought that was stupid. What does making my bed have to do with getting my life straight? But now at 26 years of sobriety, even when I stay at a hotel, I cannot not make my bed. Like, I will walk away from the bed, I get to the door, and that little God voice says, no, go back and make the bed. And I turn around and go back and make the bed, because then my life starts better. My day starts better. And then the interesting thing is when I get back in the evening, I'm not walking into a mess. And that's how my life always was a mess. And prayer and meditation have changed that. Now, prayer and meditation have not made my life easy. It's made it less messy because I created so much wreckage when I was drinking and using. I had to do a lot of work. And many of you know the challenges that I've had with my son. He's 42, and he's been either homeless or institutionalized since he was 15, and I was 30 days sober. So we've had 26 years of difficulties because he didn't get sober. Uh, he stayed on the destructive path, and I absolutely had to. Sometimes good meaning people in Alcoholics Anonymous would say to me, just pray for your son to get better. And I would think, oh, that's the worst thing that I could do. Because if my son doesn't get better, I'm going to pay the price for that disappointment. And so my prayers went like, God, give me the acceptance to just accept exactly how you want life to be. And then please send me someone else to help me. Because that was always the segue. Whenever there was a difficulty happening, I could stay focused on the difficulty, and it was like that movie, The Alien, and that alien would attach to their face. That's all you see. You just see the problem. You can't see anything else. You talk about it. You got to talk about it again. Let me talk to you, and then I'll go to the next person, and let me talk to you. And all I'm doing is talking about it and thinking about it, and it's consuming my life. But if I go help someone else, what happens to the problem, and it's actually miraculous, it just disappears. It just shrinks and gets smaller. It doesn't go away. It's still there, but it disappears in my mind. It disappears off the front of my face. And what would happen for me, especially in that difficulties with my son, he would usually get arrested and he would get out, and 3 days later he'd get arrested again, or he'd go to the hospital. And after about 5 or 6 weeks of that, I was starting to get worn down. And I would do that prayer, like, please, God, just let me do what your will is. If my son is not going to make it, please put the people in my life who can help me and I can help them. And invariably what would happen is I would be called to go somewhere on an airplane. And so I would not be able to be even in the state to be able to help my son. And so I wouldn't have to make that decision. And I would know that God was protecting me, but bigger, God was protecting my son from me, because God knew where I needed to be. Go help somebody else. And I would go to a conference, and there would be a new person or someone who had time that would be struggling, and they would come and they would talk to me. And all my problems would disappear. I wouldn't even think about, is my son going to be arrested? Is he going to be in ICU tonight? What's going to happen with him? Because the one thing that I know is when I'm thinking about you, I can't be thinking about me. And that is my solution, good, bad, or indifferent. And that's why that's why I picked that sentence. I recently shared about this. I remember one time I was on an airplane. I don't remember where I was going, but there was this young girl sitting next to me. She was, in her early 20s. And I just started chatting with her, and she started talking to me about how her parents have drug and alcohol problems, and she has to make a decision about the college she wants to go to, and she's very angry at her parents because she can't ask them. And so I said to her, do you believe in God? And she's like, no, I'm an atheist. I said, okay. Do you believe in the universe? She said, of course I believe in the universe. I said, I guarantee if you ask the universe to show you some signs of what college you should go to, you will have your answer in 7 days. I guarantee it. And she said, are you serious? I said, yeah, I guarantee it. Just stop worrying about it. That's the problem. And she went on her merry way. And a year and a half later, she contacted me on Facebook. And she said to me, you changed my life that day because I did what you told me to do. And I did. The answers came. I saw the signs that pointed me in the right direction. And, like when you get to be a part of a conversation like that a complete stranger that's not even in Alcoholics Anonymous, that you get to participate in life with them and their whole being changes. Like that's magical. That's the gifts of step 11. That's the gifts of prayer and meditation. Because prayer and meditation is not about getting what I want. It's never about getting what I want. What it's about is removing that alien from my face so I can see the sick people that God has placed in my path that desperately need help, that are dying, but I can't see them because I'm worried about my problems. And when I can help them, I'm helped. That's the facts. And it happens again and again and again. And I've watched it continuously throughout my life. I remember when I was 5 years sober, my younger brother was dying of cancer. And he chose his caretaker to be his girlfriend, who was a very, very bad alcoholic. And so my dad had asked me, I would like you to go periodically and check on your brother. And I thought, gosh, like I'm only 5 years sober. Like that's a heavy thing to place on me. But I talked to people in Alcoholics Anonymous. That's for me, prayer, meditation. They gave me their opinions. Um, and I thought about those things. I stayed open to their ideas. And they said, there's AA where your brother lives. Go to meetings there. You'll be okay. And so I said, all right, I'll do that. And I would go to meetings there. And he lived in a very small town. Now, I was originally from Los Angeles, which is a very big place. So meetings in small places are a little different. And I would go to these meetings and I would share about why I was there, and I was taking care of my brother who was dying. And, the people just embraced me and they loved on me while I was at that meeting. And it helped me. It was a very difficult journey with my brother. And my brother was very afraid to die. And so at the end, he would just walk. He was like this skeleton, and he would just walk. And I would walk behind him, and he would walk for like 4 steps, and then he would sit down, and I would sit down with him. And the day he died, the night before he died, his girl was with him, and she was hollering at him. And I came out of the bedroom and I said to her, just really quietly, why don't you go on in to bed and I'll sit with my brother for the rest of the night. And what I wanted to do is crack her across the mouth. How dare you yell at this dying person? But because of Alcoholics Anonymous and because of prayer meditation, I just showed kindness to her. And the next morning I get up with my brother, and she, of course, is hungover, so she's sleeping it off. And my brother passes away with me sitting there holding his hand. And his girl comes out of the room about 5 minutes after my brother passes. And I just turn to her and I say, he's passed. And she starts bawling. And she says, I cannot believe I treated him the way I treated him last night. And I just walked over and I hugged her and I said, that could have been me too, and it will be okay. And that is a direct result of prayer and meditation. Because again, what I wanted to do is tell her what a horrible person she was. But that woman has to live with that memory for the rest of her life unless she finds the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous and can make it right. Like, that's the other miracle here. I mean, I told you what my life looked like when I came here. And I had a whole satchel of garbage with me, stuff that I knew I would never, ever be able to put to rest. I would never be able to be forgiven for this. And, one of the greatest freedoms I got from taking care of my brother was an amends to my mom, because she died of cancer and I didn't act right. I was that girl, like my brother's girlfriend, just acting despicably because I was drinking. And my mom died and I went to the grave and I tried to make it right and I didn't. That shame was never released until I took care of her son. And then I could go to my mom's grave and say, we're clean. I did right by you now. And, I'm so grateful for that. It talks about, at the end of step 11, one of the greatest rewards of meditation and prayer is a sense of belonging. And, for a long time in sobriety, probably my first 15 years, I could go to meetings and I would feel uncomfortable. I would go to parties and I would feel alone. And what you taught me is go be of service. And so I was always the one washing the dishes in the kitchen or setting up things, helping, because it got me out of me. It made me feel more comfortable. And about when I was 20 years sober is when I realized 95% of the time now, when I go somewhere, I just feel normal. I don't feel uncomfortable. I don't think anyone's looking at me. I don't think anyone's talking about me. I can sit quietly in my chair and just meditate. I don't even have to wash the dishes anymore, but I have learned to do those things and be in my body, which was something I never wanted to do before. Because if you did the things I did in my life, you don't want to be in your body either, because all that goop is in there, all that guilt and shame of all the things that we've done is just sticky in there like honey, and we can't get away from it. And prayer and meditation fixes that 100%. I use prayer for silly little things. A friend of mine sent me this quote today. I'm going to read it because it's so fabulous. He sent this to me, which I think is actually so perfect for what's going on here. It's another sign from God. It's another sign from the universe. I'm going to speak on step 11 today. My friend doesn't know that. And he sends this to me and he said, this reminded me of you. Have you ever tried going through your day and carrying on a conversation with the Creator? Many of our elders live in prayer. They talk to the Creator like the Creator is their best friend. It is easiest to do this if we pray in the morning and ask the Great Spirit to direct our thinking. When the Creator is involved in guiding our lives, we will have less stress, anxiety, and tension. Maybe this is something we would like to try today. Oh, Creator, look at the sun, how beautiful you have made it. Well, Creator, I'm not sure how I should do this task. What do you think? This person is starting to irritate me. I need your help to redirect my thinking. Thanks for returning me to a peaceful mind. And it reminded me, I remember, I got to be, well, I've been married a few times, some drunk, some sober. And I got married, I was 5 years sober. And I had worked really hard to work on myself. And I had a good Alcoholics Anonymous marriage for 5 years. And then my husband decided to start acting in the behaviors of drinking. He hadn't drank yet, but he started acting in the behaviors. And so I asked him to leave because I can't handle alcohol in any package. I'm very well aware of that. And so he moved out, and I'm pissed off. Like, I think God shorted me. Like, I worked really hard to change me and my life and make things right. And he gave me this wonderful husband, and I knew that God had the power to fix him, but God was not fixing him. And I remember I had come home from a meeting, and I was sitting in my car, and I'm beating on the steering wheel, and I'm swearing at God, I'm screaming at him, I'm calling him names. And some of the women that I'd sponsored, they would say to me, you call God names? I say, yes, he doesn't care. He can handle it. But that was like my best friend. And I'm like, you gotta fix this. And my telephone rings, and I look down at my phone, and it's one of those women that I sponsor. Well, if you are really in the deal, what happens is you go from bawling your eyes out to sponsor mode like that. And you answer the phone, you're like, hi, sweetheart, what's going on? And she says, he's being nice to me again. And I said, okay, you could just ask him to get you some milk from the store. And then when he comes back with the milk, say thank you. And she said, all right, I'll do that. And she was speaking about her husband. And I hung up the phone. And what my plan was is I was going to pull in that garage and close the garage and leave my car running. And so I said, all right, God, you won this round. I won't kill myself tonight, but tomorrow we'll see. And I parked the car and went in the house and went about my day. Because when I'm thinking about you, I can't be thinking about me. And that woman that I sponsored, she took that alien right off my face, and all my problems disappeared. Maybe only for those next 8 hours, but it was enough that I didn't have to kill myself. And that's all we need. Sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes 30 seconds. Just get through the moment to the next moment to the next moment and build on that. It doesn't have to be this like I have to be extracted from the alien ship and put on a different planet. It feels like you do when you think about other people, but that's not what happens. Um, when I was 18 years sober, my sponsor told me that I needed to leave LA. That wasn't safe for me there anymore. And I thought, geez, like that's a huge commitment to ask. I got sober in LA. My friends are here. The women I sponsor are here. My sponsor's here. I know the meetings here. My job is here. I've been with my job for 19 years. I own a house here. And my sponsor said, it won't matter if you're not alive. My son just could not stay away. And I was terrified. I was terrified. And, sometimes they say that fear and faith can't live together, and I don't believe that to be true. I think that fear and faith can't live together when you got the alien on your face. But once you can get out of yourself and help someone else, that's where faith is. The fear may still be there. And I resigned my job, and I sold my house, and I sold most of my stuff. And I thought, like, I'm a high school dropout. I'm never going to get another big corporate job like this. I'm never going to own a house again. I'm homeless. Really, I'm homeless. I put a backpack on my back and I flew overseas, and I just traveled around the country for a couple years, and I went to AA meetings wherever I was at. And I just talked about why I was doing what I was doing, and I was running away from my son. And the new people in the meetings would say, geez, if you could stay sober through that, I could stay sober through anything. And it helped me. And my daughter kept saying, I want you to come to Colorado and live here with me. And I was afraid. Like, I know it was an irrational fear, but I couldn't piece it together. I couldn't surrender to my higher power. And I just kept moving. Now, this is my belief. I had a little stroke. And I couldn't drive, so my daughter came and got me. And she moved me in with her in Colorado. So I moved to Colorado against my will. But I didn't have a choice because I can't take care of myself. And I start going to meetings here. And I just do the things that you taught me to do when I was brand new. Set up the chairs, mop the floors, wash the coffee cups, and find the newcomer in the room. And I would go and I rode to the meetings on this old bicycle with a dress in the snow because I don't know anything about snow. Those newcomer girls had to teach me how to dress in the snow, and you don't have to ride a bicycle. We'll come and pick you up. And, and the pandemic happened, and one of those girls came to my house, and I was against Zoom. Zoom isn't AA. That's not how you get sober. The newcomer won't find us in Zoom. Tom found us. This is when Zoom was brand new. And I said, I'm not going to Zoom. And I got a little knock on the door, and that newcomer was at my door, and she said, I just lost my job. The clubhouse is shut down. I'm only 6 months sober. How am I supposed to stay sober? I said, oh, well, we're going to go to Zoom. And that's what we did. We went to Zoom meetings in my little apartment, and we learned how to do prayer, meditation, and we had a whole gaggle of new girls. And it was a very difficult time in the world, and people were very, very afraid. And we would go to the supermarket, and I would say to them, just smile at the people. And the new girls would say, but we have masks on our face. They can't see our smile. I said, it doesn't matter. They'll feel it. Just say hello through your mask, wave at them, smile with your eyes, and people would stop dead in their tracks in the supermarket because they were so shocked. Because all of us had aliens on our face, not just alcoholics. We were all so afraid, and we couldn't see anything past that fear. And even there, it worked. Even there, it worked. And I'm so grateful for Alcoholics Anonymous. I met a man here in Colorado, and he runs a big successful business, and I married him, and I run his company for him, and like all this stuff I thought I could never have again because I gave up my life in LA. At 20 years sober, I don't have any future left. There's that alien again. And now, I mean, my husband is just so good and so pure, and we get to help thousands of people coming out of prison reintegrate back into society. And we bought a house, and I just live this quiet, little, peaceful life that I never wanted. I get in the car, I never even turn on my radio because I like to just sit in the quiet. And I remember when I was first sober, I could not sit quietly at all. Now I drive hours just looking at people, smiling at people on the road, letting them cut in front of me, letting 5 cars merge in front of me. I don't care. Come on over. I'm responsible now. I give myself plenty of time to get where I'm going. I can just be kind to everyone on the road. Who cares? We're in places and we're always in a rush, and people are like, I'm so sorry, I'm slowing you down. I just laugh and smile and say, I don't have anywhere important to be. You're more important than where I need to be. And you just watch these people's face light up, and you made a difference. That's prayer meditation. You made a difference in someone else's life because you could stop thinking about you so much. Thank you very much.